When the clock struck 7, I stood in my pink birthday dress staring at the empty chairs around the table. Balloons floated above me, candles flickered on a cake that was supposed to be shared, and yet, not a single person from my invite list showed up. My chest tightened. I had planned this day for weeks. My so-called friends had promised they'd come, but they didn't. Then, just when I thought I couldn't hold my tears anymore, the front door creaked open. I turned my head sharply. My dad walked in late as always, carrying a small, worn-out box. He looked at me, and then at the empty room, and said in a low voice, "I guess it's time you know the truth." My hands trembled as he placed the box in front of me. The way he looked at me made my stomach twist. It wasn't the look of a father at a birthday party. It was the look of someone about to shatter your entire world. And when I opened the box, what I saw inside made my heart stop. But before I tell you what was inside, I need you to pause for a moment. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because you're not ready for what I'm about to reveal. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 21 years old, and if you had met me last year, you would have thought I was just another ordinary college girl. I lived with my mom and younger brother, Lucas, in a quiet town in Ohio. My dad, Daniel, wasn't really around much. He and my mom had divorced when I was 9, and since then, his presence in my life had been like a shadow, there, but never enough to hold on to. Growing up, I wasn't the kind of girl people paid attention to. I was the quiet one, the girl who stayed in the library during lunch breaks, the girl who worked extra shifts at the diner to pay for her books. Still, I believed in people. I believed in friendships, in loyalty, in family. And maybe that's why what happened broke me in ways I never thought possible. It all started months before my birthday. I thought I had friends, good ones. Jessica, my roommate, who always borrowed my clothes. Megan, who I trusted with every secret. And Adam, the boy I thought might actually care about me. They were my circle, my people. But looking back, I should have seen the cracks forming. The late replies. The whispers I wasn't included in. The inside jokes I didn't understand. One night, I overheard Jessica and Megan talking in the kitchen. I was about to step in when I heard my name. Why would we even go to Emily's party? Jessica sneered. She's pathetic. Who wants to celebrate with her? Megan laughed softly. I know, right? And Adam's just stringing her along. Poor girl doesn't even know. My stomach dropped. My fingers went cold around the doorknob. I backed away before they saw me, tears already spilling. I wanted to confront them, but I didn't. I told myself it was just a bad joke, that they didn't mean it, that maybe I was overreacting. But then Adam stopped replying to my texts. When I bumped into him on campus, he barely looked at me. And one evening, I saw him at a cafe, his hand laced with Jessica's. They saw me. They didn't even flinch. That night, I cried until I couldn't breathe. I swore I'd cut them all off. But deep inside, I still wanted them to show up for me on my birthday. I still wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, I mattered enough for them to come. Which brings me back to that empty room and the box my dad carried in. The days before my birthday, Dad had called me a few times. His voice always shaky, like he wanted to say something but couldn't. He kept asking if I was okay, if I trusted the people around me. I brushed it off. My relationship with him wasn't close enough for those kinds of questions. Or so I thought. That night, when he put the box in front of me, I didn't know whether to feel relief that someone had come or terror at what he was about to reveal. My hands trembled as I opened it, and inside, neatly stacked, were photos. Photos of my so-called friends. Jessica, Megan, Adam, all of them. But these weren't normal pictures. They were surveillance photos, taken secretly, of them laughing together, whispering, meeting up behind my back. And in every single picture, my dad was there in the background, watching them. I gasped, "Dad, what is this?" He didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened, his hands shaking as he slid a small folded paper toward me. I opened it and froze. It was a police report. My name was written on it in bold letters. Under status, it read, "Potential victim." I looked up at him, my voice barely a whisper. Victim of what? He finally spoke, his words breaking the air like glass. Emily, they weren't just avoiding your party. They were planning something much darker. And just as he said those words, the front window shattered with a crash, sending shards of glass across the room. The sound of glass exploding across the floor made me scream. My dad lunged forward, pulling me behind him as shards rained down. The air turned icy, sharp with the smell of dust and something metallic. My birthday candles still flickered on the table, like the room didn't realize it had just turned into a battlefield. I could barely catch my breath. My eyes darted to the window, where a brick now lay among the shards. Tied around it was a piece of paper. My dad snatched it up, his face pale as he read it. Then his lips pressed into a thin line, and he said one thing that made my blood freeze. They know we're onto them. I grabbed his arm.
Who?
Dad, what's happening? What are you not telling me? Before he could answer, I saw headlights sweep across the driveway. A black car parked outside. Its engine didn't shut off. The hair on my neck stood up. Whoever it was, they weren't here for cake. My dad moved fast, pushing the photos and the police report back into the box and shoving it into my arms. Emily, listen to me. Whatever happens tonight, do not let go of this box. It's the only proof you have. I looked down at it, my hands trembling so hard I thought I might drop it. Proof of what? Why would my own friends be tied up in something that made my dad involve the police? None of it made sense. The front door rattled violently. Someone was trying to break in. My heart slammed against my chest so hard it hurt. My dad reached into his jacket, and that's when I saw it. A gun.
Dad.
I choked. Why do you have that? He didn't answer, just motioned for me to stay back. Then, in a voice that was both calm and terrifying, he whispered, because the people you trusted, Emily, are more dangerous than you think. The door burst open, and 3 figures stormed in, faces covered with black masks. One of them was tall, broad-shouldered, and even through the mask, I knew who it was. Adam. My breath caught in my throat. The boy I once thought I loved was standing in my house, dressed like a criminal, on the night of my birthday. Everything inside me screamed to run, but my legs were frozen. My dad raised his gun, pointing it squarely at Adam. Stay back, Dad barked. Adam chuckled, his voice dripping with mockery. Relax, old man. We're just here for what belongs to us. I clutched the box tighter. My chest heaved as I realized this was about me, about the truth inside the box. Before I could speak, Megan and Jessica stepped in behind Adam. Their masks slipped just enough for me to see their sneers. The betrayal cut so deep I thought I'd collapse. My friends. My only friends. And now they were here, breaking into my home, ready to destroy me. Jessica smirked. You really thought we'd waste our time at your pathetic birthday party? Please, Emily. You've been nothing but a joke to us. But tonight, well, tonight is special. I wanted to scream at her, ask her why, but my dad's arm shot out in front of me like a shield. He kept his gun steady, though his voice trembled. You take one more step, and I swear. But before he could finish, Adam pulled out a gun of his own. My knees nearly buckled. Adam, please, why are you doing this? He tilted his head, eyes glinting with something cold. Because, Emily, you were never supposed to find out. And now that you have, he raised the gun. We don't have a choice. The room spun. The walls felt like they were closing in. I couldn't breathe. My dad shouted something, but the sound was drowned out by the deafening crack of a gunshot. I screamed. The box slipped from my arms and crashed to the floor, photos scattering across the room like broken truths. And when I looked up, someone was lying on the ground, blood seeping across the floorboards. The gunshot echoed, so loud it felt like the walls shook. My ears rang, my body stiff with shock. For a moment, I couldn't even tell who had been hit. Then my eyes fell to the floor. It wasn't Adam. It wasn't Jessica. It wasn't Megan. It was my dad. He was on his side, blood pooling beneath him, his hand still clenched around the gun. Dad. I dropped to my knees, my scream ripping out of me like glass in my throat. My hands pressed against the wound, trying desperately to stop the bleeding. My birthday dress soaked in red. My dad's face twisted with pain, but his eyes stayed locked on me. Emily, his voice was weak, trembling. Don't let them win. Tears blurred my vision. My body shook. No, Dad, stay with me. Please stay with me. Behind me, Adam laughed, the sound hollow and cruel. Touching. But you can't save him. I spun around, rage boiling through my veins. Why are you doing this? What do you want from me? Jessica stepped forward, her voice dripping with venom. We want what's in that box. And we'll kill anyone who gets in the way. I looked at the scattered photos, the police report, the secrets spilled across the floor like shattered glass. My dad's blood smeared the edges of some of them. They were the only link to whatever truth he had been hiding. No, I said, my voice shaking but firm. You're not taking it. Megan sneered. You think you're tough now? You? The girl nobody wanted around? You're pathetic, Emily. Always have been. Her words cut, but something inside me snapped. All the nights I'd cried alone, all the times they'd whispered behind my back, all the moments I'd been ignored, mocked, discarded. It all erupted into fury. You broke me once, I spat, my hands trembling as I stood over my dad, shielding him. But you will not break me again. Adam raised his gun, smirking. Then you'll die trying. Before he could fire, red and blue lights flashed across the room. Sirens wailed outside, their screams slicing through the night. My chest seized. My neighbors must have called the cops after the glass shattered. Jessica cursed under her breath. We don't have time for this. Adam grabbed my arm, yanking me up so hard it felt like my shoulder would snap. I fought, clawing at him, screaming, but he dragged me toward the door. No, I screamed, thrashing, my dad's blood still sticky on my hands. Let me go. Emily. My dad's voice was hoarse, desperate. Run. But Adam shoved me through the doorway before I could even look back. The night air hit my face, cold and sharp, and I realized with horror, they weren't just going to steal the box. They were going to steal me. I kicked, screamed, bit Adam's arm, but he only tightened his grip. Megan and Jessica ran ahead toward the waiting black car, throwing nervous glances at the flashing lights now turning the corner. The sirens grew louder. The cops were seconds away. Hope flared in my chest. Maybe I'd be saved. Maybe this nightmare would end here. But then Adam shoved me toward the car. Jessica yanked the back door open. And as they forced me inside, Megan leaned in close and whispered words that sent ice flooding my veins. You think tonight is about betrayal, Emily? This isn't even the beginning. We're not just after you, we're after what your father's been hiding his whole life. The car door slammed shut. The engine roared. And just like that, I was being kidnapped on the night of my birthday. The car sped down the dark Ohio backroads, headlights cutting through the night like knives. My heart slammed so hard it felt like it would burst from my chest. My wrists were tied with some rough cord Megan had yanked from under the seat, the fibers burning against my skin as I struggled. Jessica sat beside me, her eyes glinting with cruel satisfaction. Megan was in the front passenger seat, whispering orders to Adam, who gripped the steering wheel with knuckles white from tension. I tried to calm my shaking breaths. Where are you taking me? Jessica smirked. Somewhere you can finally be useful. Useful? My voice cracked. What do you mean? Megan twisted around, her lips curling into a grin that made my stomach churn. Oh, Emily, you really think your father was just some loser who left your mom because he didn't care? He's been hiding something for years. And now you're going to help us find it. My throat tightened. You don't know what you're talking about. But the truth was, a part of me wondered. My dad had always been secretive, absent, carrying guilt in his eyes whenever he visited. And that box, the photos, the police report, it wasn't the behavior of a normal dad. It was the behavior of someone who had been fighting shadows for years. The car swerved sharply onto a dirt road, jostling me against the seat. Panic rose higher in my chest. I thought of my mom, my little brother. Did they even know what was happening right now? Would they ever see me again? I forced myself to stay strong, to keep talking. If my dad's hiding something, then why me? Why not just go to him? Adam's voice was flat. Because he won't give it up. But you're his weakness. The words sliced through me. My dad, bleeding on the floor of our house, had begged me not to let them win. And here I was, bound and trapped in their hands. I bit my lip until I tasted blood, fury boiling beneath the terror. You'll regret this, I whispered. Jessica chuckled. Oh, please. The only thing you'll regret is not realizing sooner who your real enemies were. The car finally screeched to a stop in front of an old abandoned warehouse. Its windows were shattered, graffiti scrawled across its walls. The perfect place for secrets to rot. Adam dragged me out, shoving me forward. My knees scraped against gravel, pain shooting up my legs. I stumbled inside, the smell of rust and mold choking me. In the dim light, I saw a table set up in the center of the warehouse. On it lay maps, files, and photographs spread across the surface. My heart skipped when I recognized some of the photos. They were the same ones from my dad's box. Sit her down, Megan ordered. Adam shoved me into a metal chair, my wrists still bound. Jessica leaned over me, her breath hot against my ear. Here's how this works, Emily. You're going to tell us where your father keeps the rest of the files. My chest heaved. I don't know. Megan's eyes narrowed. Don't play stupid. He trusts you. He gave you that box, didn't he? That was just the beginning. I shook my head frantically. I swear, I don't know anything else. Jessica slammed her hand down on the table, making me jump. Then maybe we should make you talk another way. For the first time, real terror sank into my bones. They weren't bluffing. These weren't just bitter friends. They were dangerous. Adam reached into his jacket and pulled something out, a flash drive. He waved it in front of me. We found this on him before he hit the floor. Your father's last little gift. My stomach dropped. They had taken something from him. Something he hadn't wanted them to see. Megan plugged the flash drive into a laptop, the screen flickering to life. A folder opened. Dozens of files appeared, each labeled with strange names, dates, codes. Jessica scrolled quickly, her eyes widening. Oh my God, this is bigger than we thought. Adam leaned over her shoulder, his face pale. If this is real, we're sitting on a gold mine. I stared at the screen, my pulse thundering. Gold mine? What was in those files? What had my father been keeping hidden all these years? Before I could even process, Jessica turned back to me, her smile sharp as a blade. Looks like you're more valuable than we imagined, Emily. And guess what? If your dad survives, he'll wish he hadn't. Her words made me sick. I wanted to scream, to fight, but fear gripped me too tight. Then, suddenly, headlights cut through the cracks in the warehouse walls. Tires screeched outside. Doors slammed. Heavy boots thudded against the gravel. Adam cursed under his breath. We've been followed. Jessica grabbed the laptop, shoving it into a bag. Megan drew a knife, her face twisted with panic. And then, before I could even hope it was the police, the warehouse doors burst open. Dozens of men in black stormed in, their weapons raised. Not cops. Something much, much worse. The warehouse doors slammed open so hard the walls rattled. A flood of men in black tactical gear stormed in, rifles raised, their boots pounding against the concrete floor. The sound was deafening, a storm of commands and metal clashing. I froze in my chair, my heart clawing its way up my throat. Whoever these men were, they weren't cops. Their movements were too precise, too ruthless. Adam cursed, pulling out his gun. Jessica shoved the laptop bag toward Megan, who clutched it like it was her lifeline. Who the hell are these people? Jessica hissed. One of the masked men barked an order, his voice sharp and commanding. Secure the girl. Kill the rest. My blood turned to ice. The girl. That meant me. Before I could even process, the room erupted in chaos. Gunfire cracked through the air, bullets tearing through metal and wood. Sparks flew. The smell of gunpowder choked me. Adam fired back, dragging Jessica behind an overturned table. Megan clutched the laptop bag to her chest, eyes wide with terror. I screamed, ducking as bullets whizzed past. My chair clattered against the floor, sending me crashing sideways. My wrists still bound, I struggled like a trapped animal, trying to crawl to safety. A hand yanked me upright. My stomach dropped. It wasn't one of the strangers. It was Megan. She shoved the cold blade of her knife against my throat. "She's coming with us," she screamed. One of the armed men trained his rifle on her. "Drop the knife." Megan's hand trembled, but her eyes were wild, desperate. "Back off, or she dies." I couldn't breathe. The blade pressed so close I could feel the sting on my skin. My heart pounded in my ears. In the chaos, I caught a glimpse of Adam. His face was pale, furious. "We're losing control," he spat at Jessica. "We should have killed her when we had the chance." Killed me. The words pierced through me like a bullet. Tears stung my eyes, but rage surged hotter.
No.
I'm not their pawn. I'm not their victim. The moment Megan's grip loosened slightly, I jerked my head back, slamming it into her face. She screamed, stumbling. The knife clattered to the floor. I dove, wrists still tied, scrambling for the weapon. My fingers closed around the handle just as a hand grabbed my arm and yanked me upright again. It wasn't Megan. It wasn't Adam. It was one of the masked men. His grip was iron, his voice low and terrifying. "We've got her. Move." "No," I screamed, thrashing, kicking. My chest burned, my throat raw. "Let me go." Adam roared, firing wildly at the men as they dragged me toward the exit. Jessica shrieked, "Don't let them take her. She's the key."
Key.
That word spun in my head as I was hauled outside into the freezing night. The laptop bag was still clutched in Megan's arms inside the warehouse, but they didn't care.
They only wanted me.
A black van idled outside. The back doors flew open. I fought harder, but the man shoved me inside like I weighed nothing. My body slammed against the cold metal floor. Another man climbed in behind me, restraining me as the doors slammed shut. The van roared to life, speeding away from the warehouse. Through the tiny window, I saw flashes of chaos. Adam and Jessica firing, Megan screaming, the warehouse filling with smoke and gunfire. Then it all vanished into the night. Inside the van, silence pressed against me like a suffocating blanket. The man who had grabbed me pulled off his mask. I gasped. It wasn't some random mercenary. It was a face I knew. A face I had seen in old family photos. It was my uncle. The uncle my mom had told me died 10 years ago. "Emily," he said, his eyes dark and unreadable. "It's time you learned the truth about your father. About all of us." The van jolted, speeding faster into the darkness. My breath hitched. My entire body trembled. Because if my uncle was alive, then my whole family had been lying to me. And the truth might be deadlier than the betrayal. The van rattled along the deserted road, its headlights carving through the night. My wrists ached against the ropes, but my mind burned hotter than the pain. My uncle, my dead uncle, was alive.
And he had kidnapped me.
I stared at him, my voice trembling. "You're supposed to be dead," Mom said. He cut me off, his tone sharp. "Your mother only told you what she was allowed to. The truth, Emily, is much darker." The man across from me finally pulled off his mask too, revealing another familiar face I had only seen in old pictures, my uncle's closest friend, once rumored to be a criminal. I felt sick. My whole life was a lie. "Why me?" I whispered. My uncle leaned closer, his eyes boring into mine. "Because your father betrayed us. He stole something from the organization years ago. Files that could destroy everything we built. We thought he disappeared for good, but then we learned he left those files with you." My breath hitched. "The box." He nodded slowly. "That box was just a fraction. The rest, the flash drive, the codes, were always meant for you. Because he trusted you." Tears welled in my eyes. I thought of Dad bleeding out on the living room floor. He hadn't abandoned me all these years. He had been protecting me. My uncle's voice turned low, almost venomous. "Now you're going to give it all back. Or you'll end up just like him." Something snapped inside me. For years I had been quiet, ignored, mocked, stepped on. But tonight, I had been betrayed, kidnapped, and nearly killed. And now I realized something powerful. If my father had trusted me with the truth, then I wasn't weak. I was stronger than they thought. I steadied my voice. What makes you think I even know where the rest is? He smirked. Because you're his blood. He raised you to carry secrets you don't even know you have. Before I could respond, the van screeched to a halt. My uncle grabbed my arm and dragged me out into the cold night air. We stood in front of an old farmhouse, isolated in the middle of nowhere. Inside, the house smelled of dust and secrets. Papers covered the walls, maps, codes, red strings connecting photographs. My father's face appeared in several, circled in red. My stomach turned. This was bigger than betrayal. It was conspiracy. My uncle shoved me into a chair. Now, Emily, tell me, where's the rest of the files? I lifted my chin, forcing strength into my voice. Even if I knew, I'd never tell you. His face hardened. He leaned down, whispering into my ear. Then maybe I'll pay your mother and brother a visit. The threat hit me like a blade. Rage boiled through my veins, hotter than fear. They could do what they wanted to me, but not them. Never them. That's when I noticed it. On the table beside me, a phone. Unattended. While my uncle turned to argue with his partner, I leaned just enough to grab it with my bound hands. My fingers trembled as I pressed a button. The screen lit up, it wasn't locked. And there it was, the files. My dad's files. My uncle hadn't lied. He had them all here. In that moment, I knew what I had to do. I sent the files to every contact in the phone. Hundreds of names. Dozens of organizations. Within seconds, years of secrets spread like wildfire, far beyond their control. When the ding of sent messages echoed through the room, my uncle spun around, his face twisted in horror. "What did you do?" he roared. I stood, adrenaline surging, the ropes finally snapping from my wrists. I grabbed the knife off the table and pointed it at him, my voice shaking but firm. "I did what my dad wanted. I made sure you never win." His partner lunged at me, but I slashed wildly, adrenaline guiding my movements. Blood splattered the walls. My uncle shouted, but it was too late. The sound of sirens grew louder, filling the night air. Police lights flashed through the cracked windows. My uncle's empire had just collapsed, and I was the one who lit the match. He looked at me with pure hatred. "You'll pay for this." I met his glare, my chest heaving.
No.
"You'll pay for what you did to me, to Dad, to all of us. This is my revenge." The door burst open, cops flooding in. My uncle was tackled to the ground, screaming my name like a curse. His partner lay bleeding on the floor, the laptop and phone seized by the officers. I stood there, trembling, my birthday dress torn and stained with blood. My hands shook as an officer gently led me outside. The night sky stretched above me, endless and cold. My dad's face flashed in my mind. I didn't know if he survived the gunshot. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was certain. On the night everyone refused my birthday invite, I found out the truth. And that truth turned me into someone I never thought I could be. Someone dangerous. Someone they would regret betraying.